Welcome back to Calm Investors. I am Ruth.
And I am Patrick, Episode 6 of Season 0. And Ruth, I have to say something.
Go for it.
I feel different, genuinely different from when we started this series. In Episode 1, I did not even know my net worth. Now I have tracked my spending, I have a debt payoff plan, I have started my emergency fund, and I checked my insurance coverage. It feels like I am actually building something.
You are building something, and I want every listener to hear that. If you have been following along and doing the homework, you have done more for your financial future in the last 5 episodes than most people do in 5 years. That is not an exaggeration. Most people never track their spending. Most people never make a debt plan. Most people never build an emergency fund. You are ahead of the curve.
That feels good to hear. So what is today about?
Today is about the one habit that turns all of that foundation work into actual wealth. Today we are talking about paying yourself first.
Pay yourself first. I have heard that phrase before, but I am not sure I really understand what it means in practice.
Most people think saving works like this. You earn money, you pay your bills, you spend on the things you need and want, and then, if there is anything left over at the end of the month, you save it, right?
That is exactly how I have always done it, save whatever is left.
And how much is usually left?
Honestly, almost nothing. Some months, literally nothing.
Right. And that is not because you are bad with money. It is because of a fundamental truth about human behavior. We spend what we see. If the money is in your checking account, it gets spent, not because you are irresponsible, but because expenses expand to fill available money. It is like a gas. It fills whatever container you put it in. So pay yourself first means you flip the order. Pay yourself first means you save before you spend. Not after the money moves to savings, before you ever see it in your checking account, before you pay bills, before you buy groceries. Before you do anything, your future self gets paid first.
So instead of saving what is left after spending, you spend what is left after saving.
That is it. That is the whole concept in one sentence. Spend what is left after saving, not save what is left after spending. And it changes everything. Because when the money is gone before you see it, you adjust. You naturally spend less. You find ways to make it work. But if the money is sitting in your checking account, it disappears.
Okay, but how much should I be saving? Is there a target?
There is a popular framework called the 50-30-20 rule. It is a starting point, not a rigid law. The idea is that you divide your after-tax income into 3 buckets: 50% for needs, rent, utilities, groceries, insurance, minimum debt payments, the things you have to pay; 30% for wants, dining out, entertainment, hobbies, subscriptions, the things that make life enjoyable, and 20% for savings and investing your future self.
50, 30, 20. That is a clean split. But 20% feels like a lot. I am not sure I can do 20% right now.
And that is completely fine. The 50-30-20 rule is a target, not a starting point. If you can only do 5% right now, start with 5%. If you can do 10, start with 10. The number matters less than the habit. Because here is the secret. Once you start, it gets easier. You adjust to living on less, and over time, you increase the percentage. The goal is to get to 20% eventually, but starting at 5% is infinitely better than starting at 0.
5% is better than 0. I can do 5%.
Good. Now, I want to talk about something that surprises a lot of people, and it is one of the most important concepts in all of personal finance.
Hit me.
Your savings rate matters more than your investment returns. Let me say that again. How much you save matters more than how well you invest.
Wait, really? I would have thought the opposite. I would have thought getting great returns is the most important thing.
It is the most common misconception in personal finance. People obsess over finding the perfect investment, the hot stock, the best fund, but the math is clear. A person who saves 20% of their income and earns average returns will build more wealth than a person who saves 5% and earns above average returns. The savings rate is the bigger lever, especially in the first 10 to 15 years.
Can you give me an example?
Sure, let us say two people both earn $60,000 a year. Person A saves 20%, $12,000 a year, and earns an average 7% return. Person B saves 5%, $3,000 a year, but is a brilliant investor who earns 12% after 20 years. Person A has about $520,000. Person B has about $240,000. The 20% saver has more than double the wealth, even with lower returns.
More than double, even with worse returns. That is wild.
It is, and here is the beautiful thing about that. You cannot control the stock market. You cannot control your investment returns. But you can control your savings rate. It is the one variable that is entirely in your hands, and it is the one that matters most.
So stop worrying about picking the perfect stock and start worrying about how much you are saving.
Exactly. And here is the stat that ties it all together. A 20% savings rate at average market returns leads to financial independence in roughly 25 years. That means, if you start at 25 and save 20% consistently, you could be financially independent by 50, not because of some genius investment strategy, because of a habit.
Financial independence by 50. From a savings habit, that is powerful.
Now, I want to share something that has stuck with me for years. There is a book called The Richest Man in Babylon. It was written by George S. Clason in 1926, almost 100 years ago. And it contains what I think is the simplest and most powerful piece of financial advice ever written.
100-year-old book. What is the advice?
7 words, a part of all I earn is mine to keep. That is it. Before you pay your landlord, before you pay the grocery store, before you pay anyone else. A part of all you earn is yours to keep. It is the original pay yourself first.
A part of all I earn is mine to keep. That is beautiful in its simplicity.
It is. And the reason it has survived for almost 100 years is because it works. It worked in ancient Babylon. It worked in 1926. And it works today. The tools change. We have apps and automatic transfers instead of clay tablets. But the principle is timeless. Pay yourself first.
Okay. So we know the principle, we know the target. How do we actually make it happen? Because I know myself. If I have to manually transfer money every month, I will forget or I will talk myself out of it.
And that is exactly why the second half of this equation is so important. Automate it. Remove the decision point. Set up an automatic transfer from your checking account to your savings or investment account. Schedule it for the day you get paid before you see the money, before you can spend it. It moves automatically.
So I never have to decide to save, it just happens.
It just happens. And this is the key insight. Willpower is a limited resource. You wake up every day with a finite amount of decision-making energy. If saving requires a decision every month. Should I save this month? How much should I save? Can I afford it? You will eventually decide not to. Not because you are weak, because you are human. Automation removes the decision entirely. The money moves, you adjust to what is left, and your wealth grows in the background while you live your life.
Systems beat willpower. We have said this in every episode, and it keeps being true.
Because it is the most important lesson in personal finance. Build the system. Let the system work. Get out of the way.
Okay, one more thing I want to ask about. What happens when you get a raise? Because I have gotten raises before and somehow I still end up with nothing left at the end of the month.
That is lifestyle inflation, and it is one of the biggest threats to wealth building. Here is what happens. You get a raise. You feel great. You upgrade your apartment. You buy a nicer car. You eat out more, and within a few months, your expenses have risen to match your new income. The raise disappears. You are earning more but saving the same, or less.
That is exactly what happened to me every single time.
It happens to almost everyone. But there is a simple strategy to beat it. I call it the raise strategy. When you get a raise, invest at least half of every raise before you adjust your lifestyle. So if you get a $200 per month raise, increase your automatic savings by $100 before you do anything else. You still get to enjoy the other 100. Your lifestyle still improves, but your savings rate goes up too. You win on both sides.
Save half the raise before you even feel it. That is clever, because you never had that money before, so you do not miss it.
Exactly. You cannot miss what you never had, and over a career with multiple raises, this strategy alone can take your savings rate from 5% to 20%, without ever feeling like you are sacrificing anything.
That is the dream, getting richer without feeling poorer.
That is exactly the dream, and it is achievable. It just requires a system, not willpower.
All right, let us lock in the key takeaways.
Number 1. Pay yourself first. Save before you spend, not after. Spend what is left after saving, not save what is left after spending. This one change transforms your financial life.
Number 2. The 50-30-20 rule is a useful framework. 50% needs, 30% wants, 20% savings, but it is a target, not a starting point. Start where you are, even 5%, and build up over time.
Number 3. Your savings rate matters more than your investment returns. A 20% saver with average returns beats a 5% saver with great returns. Focus on what you can control.
Number 4. Automate everything. Set up an automatic transfer on payday. Remove the decision point. Systems beat willpower every single time.
And number 5, your homework. Set up an automatic transfer from your checking account to your savings account on your next payday. Start with whatever you can, 5%, 10%, whatever is realistic. Then schedule a calendar reminder for 3 months from now to increase it by 1%. And when you get your next raise, save at least half of it before you adjust your lifestyle.
And remember, a part of all I earn is mine to keep. Almost 100 years old and still the best advice in personal finance.
I love that you remembered that, because that is the takeaway that sticks. Everything else is mechanics, that is the mindset.
So what is coming up next?
Next episode, we are flipping the script. We have spent 5 episodes talking about the defense side of money. Spending less, killing debt, building safety nets. Saving more, and all of that matters. But there is another side of the equation that most personal finance content ignores. Your income, because cutting expenses has a floor. You can only cut so much, but growing your income? That has no ceiling.
Wait, we are going to talk about making more money. On a finance channel?
We are, because your career is your biggest financial asset, and most people are leaving hundreds of thousands of dollars on the table over their lifetime because they never learned how to grow it. Next episode, grow your income.
All right, if this episode inspired you to start paying yourself first, follow Calm Investors wherever you are listening and share this with someone who keeps saying they will start saving next month. Help them start today.
And remember, a part of all you earn is yours to keep. Set up the system, let it work, and watch what happens.
See you in episode 7.
See you there. Stay calm, build wealth.